There's a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. We got a great show for you today, and we've got an author. Well, before I go there, I have to tell you that Rochelle is out sick today, and so I wish her well and that she feels better very soon. And but we've got a great author for you today, and we've got even a more important and impactful subject matter that we're going to talk about today. We're talking to Caty and Micky, or we're just going to call you Caty if that's okay.
Sounds good to me.
And you are an author, and you first of all, I know so little about farming. It's just so. We were talking before the show, and she says it's harvest season. And I said, "What are you harvesting?" And she said canola, and I went, "Well, isn't that like an oil?" And it's like, it doesn't start out that way. You have to take it and you have to press it, and then you make the oil out of the canola. And now I have to ask you, because I'm just ignorant as far as farming goes, is canola a corn product, or what is it?
It's a little black seed. It's not a corn product. It's a little black seed.
And it grows on a bush, or
well, it grows on a long stem, and then it'll have pods coming out from it, and in those pods are really tiny black seeds, and that's what goes and gets combined. You want the tiny black seeds, and it is an oil product. So when you are storing it, you do have to turn it so it doesn't heat until you sell it.
Oh, it sounds fascinating. I'm glad I'm in Seattle. I don't do farming and stuff, but congratulations on what you do. That's really cool. And you're also an author, and the book that you've written is an autobiography of sorts, and it's about it's called Cultivating Freedom. I love your play on being a farmer and cultivating freedom and stuff. And if you go to our website, which is cultivatingfreedom.ca, because she's in Canada, don't you know? And it's great that you are here. And the book is out now, so you can go to Amazon or any other bookseller and you can pick it up, right?
Yeah, I just have it on Amazon right now. If you go to my website, it will has a link that takes you right to Amazon. And if you subscribe to my website, you'll get notifications of all the latest podcasts and what's been going on in Cultivating Freedom's life.
Exactly. And I do have a recommendation for everybody. If you're living in a small town and there's a local bookseller who is a mom and pop, and I want you to go in there and say, "Hey, do you have Cultivating Freedom by C.F. Micky?" And they'll look and go, "Well, we don't have that in." "Well, could you buy it for me? And why don't you buy several other copies, and then you can put it on the shelf, because I think a lot of people would really like to read about this story." Is that a good idea?
Oh, I think that's fantastic. Like this book I wrote it in such a way to educate and help others that are kind of in the same boat or wondering what is going on in their life.
It is a very important piece, because it's a very important work, because we are going to talk about marriage, and you were married for a long time. Yes. You were married longer than I was. I was married for 24 years. It was the best 6 months of my life. And probably yours was a little bit different than that. But you were married for 30 years, I do believe. Is that right?
33 years when I left.
33 years. And it was a tumultuous 33 years to a great degree. I'm willing to bet, because what we're going to talk about, and there's no point in dancing around it, we're going to talk about narcissism and narcissistic behavior. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So tell us what motivated you to write the book.
Well, as I said, our marriage had its challenges right from day one, and I was always searching, trying to figure out what was going on. And my 28th year of marriage, with the help of medical staff, I actually had a name for what my husband had. And once I learned that, I learned all I could about narcissism. And I stayed another 5.5 years trying to help him. But you can't help somebody that feels that there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
And the abuse was escalating from mental into physical. The threats were coming, and not only to me, but my son, our son. And that's when I decided that this is not going to end well, because honestly, I was at a point in my life that I couldn't live like this anymore. I had already been staying in my own bedroom for over 2 years, and I had one of my children come in and said, if you don't get out, you're going to be in a nursing home before you know it. I was really mentally low and just surviving. I wasn't living, I was just surviving. I would stay in my bedroom until he left the house, and then I would come out and do my jobs. And then it was not a good scene.
Well, and the interesting thing about that, I've talked to a lot of people that have been in narcissistic relationships, and they all tell me the same thing. He never realized that there was a problem, or she never realized that there was a problem, and she thought, or they thought, that it was all my problem, and it was my deal to worry about, and that they did nothing wrong and were not self-reflective enough to figure out that maybe you had some legitimate points. Does that apply to him?
Oh, yes. Narcissists do not have the ability to self-reflect. They don't have that ability. And probably another point that it was a very hard pill to swallow was when I first started going to the counselor, trying to put the pieces together. She said to me, it sounds like you were more of a possession than a wife. And I thought long and hard about that, because how many times did I say to him, I'm your wife, I'm not your child? He married me on a contractual basis. He owned me, and I was to serve him. There's no unconditional love with a narcissist.
So obviously in your marriage vows, it didn't say, I own you and I can, and stuff. So the marriage vows, where I assume were relatively traditional, but he didn't buy him for a minute, did he?
Nope, not a minute. And I should have realized that, when I go learn more about it, there was signs right from our dating days that I didn't pay attention to.
Well, and I would like to talk to you about that, because what we're out to do today is to, first of all, to highlight your book, but also, which is called Cultivating Freedom, but also to educate people that may be going through the beginning stages of the same thing and the same behavior that you went through. And tell me if any of this is correct. I've talked to people where cell phones became an issue, where friends became an issue. You can't go and talk to other people. You can't, and he would blame them to other people about their behavior, but when it was actually his behavior, he was using that as a front for, dare I say it, control. Does that make any sense?
Totally. Totally. When we first were married, we had party lines here on the farm. So there would be three of us on a party line, and there was a line in the shop. And if somebody phoned us, he would be picking up the phone in the shop and he'd be listening in on my conversation. And I guess I really didn't care because I had nothing to hide. But then as time progressed, one of my friends, she dropped off some vegetables or whatever for me at the back door. I went to the back door, opened it up, and he stood behind the door listening to the conversation. And then I caught him, as cell phones are coming in, I caught him going through my cell phone several times. And I just, like, what is your problem?
Well, and I want because some people in our audience, by the way, if you're like under 40, you have no idea what a party line is. So let me see if I can explain, and you tell me if I got this right. It is 3 different households that have the same telephone number, and you know when to pick it up because you have a unique ring that is only you, like it, instead of being just ring, ring, it might be ring, 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 or it might be something like that. Am I correct in that?
You are correct.
And so theoretically, even if you knew that it was somebody else's line and you could actually pick it up and listen to what they were talking about at the same time. And
yeah, we call that rubbernecking.
and so if you wanted to keep a secret, you didn't talk about it on the telephone.
Correct.
And so it became, and especially if you've got 2 phones that have the same ring at different locations, one like in the kitchen and one in the shop, then the other person could pick up the phone and be very quiet about it and listen to your conversation, and you wouldn't even know it.
Exactly.
That is, so I'm glad they don't have those anymore, and we now have got cell phones, and you're independent. But then he goes through your cell phone to make sure that and that is common behavior nowadays, by the way.
Really?
I know. I have a young friend, Rochelle, who is like I said, is out sick today, and she tells me that she and one of her boyfriends at one time got into a great big argument because he wanted the password to her phone. Now, it's none of his business. They weren't married, but what he wanted the password to her phone so he could look through her phone to see who she had talked to. And so the behavior, though different, is kind of the same.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say there's some trust issues there with that boy.
It seems to be that's what I tried to explain to her, and she didn't give him the password, and they had a great big fight and stuff. And it's like, that's your property, that's yours, and it's who you talk to is your business, not anybody else's. There has to be a measure of trust in a relationship, I think.
Yes, exactly. Like if you can't trust your partner to have your back and to value your relationship, then you don't have anything.
Well, and for a good portion of your married life, you guys were on a farm and you were working together to build the farm and do all that kind of stuff. Now, it was also kind of an isolated existence for you, I would think, because you were always on the farm and you're not in the city, kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, yes, and it was very isolated here. We raised our kids. All our kids are interchangeable on all the equipment. We work together as a family. And I did work off the farm in the nursing home, and he also worked off the farm. And that was my outing, was working off the farm. Like I did at one point have a licensed daycare happening at the farm, but as the kids were all getting in school and mine were getting in school, I wanted to go back to the nursing home, and I applied so that I could go there 2 days a week. And there was 3 days that he did not talk to me because I got a job at the nursing home. And I thought, we don't go anywhere, we don't do anything. So that was my outing.
Well, didn't he applaud you for thinking ahead and bringing in a little extra income and all that? I mean, that's how I would view it, would be, you go, girl. If you want to go do that and go have fun, and you're, number one, you're helping people who are in a nursing home, which is a really big deal.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you're bringing in a little extra income. You go, girl, and if you want to pick up an extra day every now and then, that would be great too, kind of thing.
Well, no, he kind of belittled me, and he kind of put his hand and tapped my leg, and he said, there. He said, "This is your play money." And I I looked at him and I said, "I'm happy with what I have. I don't need a new car. I don't need those things." So all my income went into a bank account, and at the end of the year, I went and bought RSPs. So now we're in at the accountant's, and the accountant says, "So did you purchase any RSPs?" And he said, "No, I didn't." And I said, I patted him on the leg and I said, there. I said, "I did." So
Oh,
out the door, and we had to spend the same amount on him for RSPs.
what is an RSP, by the way?
It's a registered retirement savings plan.
Oh, perfect. They got those in Canada. We don't have those here. We just call people poor. Um,
Well, they tax you when you pull it out, so I don't know if they're good or bad.
yeah, would call that a 401k kind of thing down here. So, but in any event, we're talking with Caty. She's written the book Cultivating Freedom, and we need to take a break, and we'll be right back in just 60 seconds. Just please stay with us. You're listening to the Brushwood Media Network. Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. We've got a fabulous guest with us today, and she's educating us and helping us understand something that I have never understood, and I don't get. It's not in my soul. It's not who I am, of somebody that is a narcissist, that is taking control of somebody's life and is very, well, very dictatorial about how they treat everything and the relationship that you have. Was that kind of how it was for you? And is it because were you young when you got married?
I believe I was about 23.
You're just a child.
Yeah.
And they say that the adult brain doesn't really even finish forming until you're 26. So
Well, I'm booped, eh?
And then, so at 23, you were young, and you were married for 33 years, but there was a point in time when you realized this isn't right. This isn't working, and your kids grew up in the same house, and they recognized it as well, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yes, and they put off an aura. You can walk in the house and you can feel it. Like if you can feel it, everybody would kind of disperse and go into their own little corners or their bedrooms or go out and do something else. Uh,
So there was an energy vibe that he was emitting that told everybody, oh, no, stay away from this. This is not good.
Yeah. Yeah. You can feel it. You can feel it. Like the one time I was gone, I came home and I walked in the house and I could feel it. And it was just him in the house. And by this time, all our kids had moved away and everything. And our son farmed with us. And I asked him, I said, so what happened today? Oh, nothing. No, nothing. Good day. Good day. Oh, yeah. Had a really good day. And that was on a Thursday. And then Friday, my son asked me if I'd pick him up and take him to the semi so that he could load up a load of grain out of the bagger. And I said, sure. And he said, where's Dad? And I said, in the shop. And he said, okay. And I watched him. It's wintertime. And I watched him outside. He went everywhere but the shop. So that's when I knew something went down. And then, yeah, lo and behold, it all came out. Yeah,
women's intuition. That's what you call that, because you knew something wasn't right.
Oh, you could feel it. You could literally feel it. And then Saturday night we had a do in town with supper and a dance, and my mom came out, and Sunday Brent and I and Mom are sitting at the table Sunday morning having a visit, and then he gets up and goes to the bedroom and comes back, and he said, I'm going on a holiday. Oh, okay, where are you going? I'm going to BC. Okay, have a good time, I said. And out the door he went. And later on, after my mom left that day, I pulled my son aside and I said, I need to know what happened. And yeah, I guess his dad threatened to shoot him and put him 10 feet under where he deserved. All because he was trying to get a load of canola into the elevator in time.
And now, was this your oldest son?
Yeah, I only have one son. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You got two beautiful girls who produced 6 great. Well, I suppose he could have helped with one of them anyway. But you've got 6 grandchildren, and
Yeah.
so, but the husband, the man of the house, never said a word about it.
No, he never said nothing. And so he left and came back 2 days later. And once I got the story from my son, I asked him, and I got the same story, except for the part where he threatened to shoot our son. And I said to him, I told him about what our boy had said, and he said, oh, Caty, you don't think I'd do that, do you? And I said, the words came out of your mouth. I said, so what is going through your head? Well, then he started to cry. He wants to go to marriage counseling.
Oh, now that's a good step forward, I think. Maybe. Maybe
well,
not.
Yeah, we did. We did go to marriage counseling, but the second session in, she pulled me in another room and she said, you seem to understand your husband's mental condition. And I said, I do. And she said, you better figure it out. She said, it's going to get worse. So
Can for those of us that may not have been exposed to that, can you give us some of the signs of what a
no, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to give us some of the signs of a narcissistic personality.
Okay. Some of the signs are empathy. They have low empathy or a twisted type of empathy. Pathological selfishness. Everything's about them and the world has to go around them. Excessive need for admiration and validation. Grandiosity. When they walk into a room, they want to be acknowledged. They want, and poor regulated emotions, anger issues, fly off the handle. And socially really struggles socially to fit in and to into the social environment. He always used to say, I can't talk to people like you. And I said, that doesn't matter. I said, can we not compliment each other? We don't all have to be the same. And he was very envious of that ability. And I have to say, at the root of all of narcissism is insecurity. They're very insecure people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they don't realize who they could be or are. They think that, and is there also this out to get me kind of mentality that everybody's out to get me?
Oh, paranoia, definitely. And that was probably the biggest red flag that I dealt with right after we were married. He always criticized my driving, and I had to go to the field to pick him up. And I had my daughter with me. I had a daughter from a previous relationship. She was 4. And so I thought, he's standing a little ways away from the tractor. I'll pull in between him and the tractor. He can slide in the driver's seat, and then we'll be off. So I come into the field, and he starts running for the tractor. and then he gets in the truck, and he looks at me, and he's hollering at the top of his lungs that I tried running him over. Well, I started to laugh because, do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Like we just got married.
Yeah.
You know? And he thinks I'm trying to do him in already. And that was the rage that he went through. That was my first indication that there is something wrong with this guy.
But you still spent a lot of years with him. Of course, you had the children, and you had the farm, and you were working. How many acres is the farm, by the way?
Oh, well, we're over 3,000.
That's a lot of land right there.
We're little. We are very little in our area. My son has his own land too, and he actually is managing the farm and looking after the farm. He does that. Tonight I cooked meals for 7 people, so tonight I'm cooking for the guys.
Well, good for you. And what are you making for dinner, by the way?
We're having chili and whipped potatoes and fresh Hutterite buns and sweet hot pickles that I made and an apple.
That sounds like a wonderful dinner for all the people that are working in the farm and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, Caty, you seem to be a wonderful person and a great human being. I can't believe that you tried to run your husband over. But those things happen, and so from the narcissistic point of view, he thought everybody was out to get him. He thought that even his wife, was out to get him, and he was not. Was he kind and generous, or was he always thinking about himself first?
Oh, with him, it's always him. Everything was always about him. Like even when it comes to birthdays or anniversaries or anything like that. And that was probably one of my trigger points after I had left, was the kids wanted to do something for my 60th birthday. And I was having a hard time with that because when I was with him, I always wanted to try and fly under the radar because he always made such a big deal. Oh, I got to do this, or oh, I got to do that. And it's just like, you don't have to do anything. If you want to, that's something, but don't feel that you have to. And so when it comes to celebrations like that, a person has, it's important for the kids to look forward to their birthdays and stuff, but it was kind of a fine line that I had to walk and maneuver.
Well, but your children love you and they want to celebrate Mom. How did Mother's Day go?
My kids are good to me on Mother's Day. They always have. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he left you alone on Mother's Day. How was he? Oh, when we come back from this break, I got to ask you, how was he on Father's Day, and was it ever enough? We'll be right back. We're talking with Caty. She's written the book Cultivating Freedom, because that's what she had to do to live the life that she has now. And we'll be right back after this. Get the book. It's at Amazon, Cultivating Freedom, by C.F. Micky. And we'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this: be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Caty is with us, and she's written the book Cultivating Freedom. And it's her journey through a narcissistic relationship, and which lasted way longer than I'm sure that you would have liked to have had it last. But thank you for doing the work to try the last 5 years to try and help him get out of it. Congratulations for that. I wanted to ask you, was he kind to strangers?
Oh, yes. Oh, when people would pop into the farm, I would always invite them. Well, why don't you stay and have a meal with us? We're having dinner, we're having supper. Because when other people were around, he was a very nice man to visit with. But when they left, a 180, and it was right back. It was one way at home and another way in public.
So he wasn't kind because he felt the innate need and desire to be kind to another human being. He was using it as a benchmark for other people to think, oh, isn't he a nice man? He is so kind.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They call it a fantasy persona.
Oh.
Yeah.
And describe a fantasy persona for us.
Well, where they project the ultimate, the good family life, the wholesome family life, I don't know how to say it.
Unless, of course, you threaten to shoot one of your children. That would probably not be a really good, wholesome family life kind of thing. And he admitted that it was wrong after he did it, but he didn't have is it that he didn't have the ability to stop himself when he got angry, and he would do things and say things to hurt other people just because he could?
His anger, he didn't control his anger. And his mentality behind all of that, it was like he could say and do whatever he wanted. Like he's entitled to treat you that way. He knows exactly what he's doing. And what towards the end of the relationship, I was telling him some hardships that my family was going through, and he was smiling like he was getting enjoyment out of somebody else's misery. And towards the end of the relationship, it was so that I couldn't talk to him at all about anything, because that wasn't the man I thought I married.
That had to be a really monumentally crappy feeling for yourself.
Well, I just, so many times when you hit the internet and you're Googling and you're trying to find out answers, it's just like, what is going on? What is really going on with you? And it wasn't until he admitted that he had depression that we went to the doctors. And the doctor made him, well, first we're sitting in the waiting room and they called his name, and he got up and he looks at me and he says, aren't you coming? And I said, only if you want me to, because I know it's going to be thrown in my face. So we're in the doctor's office, and then the doctor has him fill out this survey, and as he's doing it, he looks at me and he says, this isn't good. And I said, I don't care. I said, we're here to be honest, and we're here to fix this. And so the doctor came in and he looked at his answers and he looked at me and he said, have you ever felt threatened for your life?
Oh my.
I said no. But truthfully, yes, I have. But my husband's sitting there and I said no.
But the answers that he gave on this survey or this form indicated to the doctor that he had these tendencies because of the answers that he gave the questions.
Yeah, and I never saw any of the questions or his answers. The doctor just told me, now sit in that corner and don't be helping him. And but we had to go back in 6 weeks for assessment. And the first thing the doctor said was, I could not let you go last time without medicating you. And that was a very emotional time for me because I thought 28 years we're finally getting help.
Yeah.
But it only deals with the depression part of all of this. There is no magic pill to help. Well,
isn't part of the problem the fact that he doesn't believe that there is a problem?
No. And I was going to the counselors trying to put things together, and I kept inviting him, come with me. Well, why would I go? There's nothing wrong with me. Why would I go? And I said, we have a terrible marriage. No, there's nothing wrong with me.
You actually said that to him, and he said, there's nothing wrong with me? I would think the normal thing to say would be, oh, maybe we should sit down and talk about this.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that.
No.
Not my deal. Nothing wrong with me. This is all that's one of the keys of narcissistic behavior is it's not my fault. It's all your fault. You're the one.
Yeah. Well, he used to say to me, and we were talking about splitting up, and he'd say, well, I'll just farm all the land. I'll just rent your land. And I said, no, you won't. I said, if we're done, we're done. And I said, and if we're done, I said, you can pay me rent on a heated house. You can pay me rent on a fully tooled heated shop. You can pay me rent on all our equipment. And then I think he started getting the picture because I started treating him the way he's been treating me.
Oh, goodness. I would have thought when you when you moved out of the bedroom, I would have thought that would have been a clear indication that maybe something's not right here.
No, I actually moved out of the bedroom once for 2 years and he wanted me back. And I said, only if that TV stays off. And I moved back into the bedroom. And then one night he came into bedroom and I said, can you please put the timer on the TV? And I said, I got to be up at 5 a.m. Well, go sleep in the other room. I got up and I left and I never came back.
You're a pretty brave, bright woman, I do have to say. So in the last first of all, let's talk more about your book, which is called Cultivating Freedom. Mm-hmm. And how long did it take you to write the book, and how difficult was it for you to do all that?
Honestly, when you're in counseling and you're trying to put the pieces together, they suggest for you to journal. And I started journaling and about everything that I was going through and what was happening and in the courts. And I joined a writing group. And then I kept coming back to the realization I'm a strong person. How did I ever tolerate this and let this happen? So that's when I went back to my childhood memories and I realized where my boundaries were knocked down. And that led me down the path that I was on. So honestly, I knocked that book out in 3 weeks sitting at my kitchen table.
Good for you. Good for you. Because one of the things that in every person that I've talked to who has been abused, and by the way, it is abuse.
Yes,
Narcissistic behavior is major abuse. But most of these people, most of the women predominantly, and I have talked to a few men, but most of them were women, and they tell me that they didn't know any better because of their youth. They didn't think, because of how they grew up, that they didn't think that what he was doing was so far out of the norm because they didn't deserve to be treated better in some of the cases because of how they were brought up when they were young. This is how everybody treats me, and they didn't treat it like really any differently. Was that part of your experience?
Well, no, I can't say that. My mom had left my dad when we were fairly young because he was a drinker and he was very abusive with her. And I do not hold that against her at all. I would have done
No,
the same
not at
thing
all.
that she did, eh? But I guess when she would have to drive an hour into the city to go to work, and my brother and I were left on our own. So my brother's in grade 1 and he's in grade 3 and I'm in grade 3, and we're going to school. We're coming back, cooking our dinner on the stove, washing our dishes. Like, we were very independent and reliant on each other. And then I got a stepdad, and that's where my boundaries were knocked down, is with my stepdad.
Gotcha. So I know that this isn't the way it used to be, and times are different now, but at first grade and third grade, you would walk to school. Did you have a bus that you would get on, or did you walk to
Nope.
school every day?
No, we at that point we lived in town and we walked to school. Yeah.
So you walked to school, you walked home. There was nobody home in either case because she was off working. And then you would fix yourselves dinner and clean up after yourselves and then do whatever homework there was. And then by that time, somebody would show up.
Yeah. Well, we did have a great aunt that lived kitty corner from us, so that if anything happened or my dad showed up, we are supposed to put the light on and she would phone the RCMP. But no, we were very responsible.
And by the way, that's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yes.
Which by the way, we had there was a cartoon that we had down here that was about them and stuff. So in any event, I applaud you for doing that and writing the book in 3 weeks. It must have just flowed from all of the experiences that you had in that 33 years.
Well, yeah, because I would go to bed at night and I'd think about it, and like, I'm very conscious over chronologically putting everything in order. And then as you're writing it, it's just like, I don't want a book that's going to be a whiner. I want a book that's going to help somebody. So I changed it up to do an education. As, okay, these are some of the red flags I had. These are some of the examples that happened. And it's more of an education for anybody that's in this kind of position.
And there are, I honestly, and you would know more than me because you have studied it, but Caty, I'm willing to bet that there are more people that are in this position than we know about.
Oh, totally. When you go to the hockey rink or something like that, I can peg it. I can peg it.
You've been down that road and you're aware and stuff. So we're talking with CF Micky, and she's got the book Cultivating Freedom. And get the book, especially if you know somebody that you think is in a narcissistic relationship, buy the book and just accidentally leave it on their coffee table and see it, and have that, or leave it on her nightstand or something, so that she can have an opportunity to read it, because life is way too short. And when we come back from this break, I want to ask, how are the kids doing today? They're middle-aged people now, and they've got kids of their own. How are they doing with all of this transpiring and all of that? And we'll be right back after this really quick. It's just 30 seconds. Stay right where you are. Hey, while we're on break, here's something to remember. Life is not always easy. We all face challenges that weigh us down, but even on the heaviest days, positivity can still be within reach. One story, one kind word can shift the entire course of your day and everyone around you. That's why we're here, to remind you that you're not alone and that hope is always possible. And now we're coming back, so thank you for listening to Positive Talk Radio. And welcome back. We're talking with Caty Micky, and she's the author of the book Cultivating Freedom. And congratulations on doing that. And I know that how long has the book been out now?
Just a couple months.
Oh, yeah. Very good. And you wanted to give, before you started promoting it heavily, you wanted to give your kids a little time.
Yes.
And how are they dealing with that? Because they were also, if you're wondering, the children are also recipients of the same type of treatment, and they see it all, and they see how one person is treating the other, and it does affect them. It can't help but affect them, especially when somebody says, I'm going to shoot you and bury you 10 feet down and stuff. So how are the kids today?
Actually, I'm very grateful for my children. And I think in our household, I do believe that the mother is a primary caregiver in our household. Mm-hmm. And as much as I was trying to shield them from what was happening, they were still part of it. We used to have cousins that used to come all the time, and she pointed out that we were there having a meal with you guys, and something funny really happened at the table. And she said the kids all looked to their dad to see if it was okay to laugh.
So they know.
So, yeah. But I do have strong children, and I have gotten comments from them that they'll never, ever let anybody treat them like that again.
And I can tell you this, the reason that you have strong children is because of you. Because you strike me as being a very strong person in and of yourself. And that's even amplified by the fact that after you figured out that this wasn't good, and that he was not, that it was a narcissistic relationship, that you tried to help him before you gave up and left.
Yeah. Well, I wanted, my one child was after me to leave, and I said, I cannot leave until I've exhausted all avenues to help your dad. Once I've exhausted all avenues, once I'm gone, I'm gone. I'm not one of those that go back and forth. When I'm stubborn and I'm bullheaded, and when my mind's made up, my mind's made up.
Well, but you know something, that is really indicative of how you have to treat a narcissist, because in some of the relationships that I've known or people have told me about, if they vacillate at all about leaving and then coming back and leaving and then coming back, all you're going to do is make the situation worse, because then he's going to be nice as pie until you come back, and then everything repeats itself. Only they tell me it gets worse. Was that true in your case?
Oh, totally. Towards the end of the relationship, honestly, by this time, I've lost all respect and admiration for the man from what he's been doing and what he's been saying to the grandkids. And in April, I asked him if he was going to pull the drill out and are we going to start working on it? And I got lots of time. Okay. And I think we all know what happens when that happens. Then a week before seeding, the drill gets pulled out and he realizes he bent a frame. Now I'm on my way to the city to get iron, and we got to fix this thing. And he came in for dinner and I had pasta, and he started complaining, and I just said, don't complain to me. And all of a sudden that plate of pasta whipped right up against the wall. Here, few choice words, clean this up. And I just calmly looked at him and I said, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to leave it there for everybody to know what I live with. And I walked out the door.
Congratulations. That is, you are a very strong person, because you can't succumb to that kind of abuse, because it's just going to get worse, and it just keeps going on and keeps going on and on and on and on. So congratulations. And so are you still on the farm, and is he no longer there?
Well, I had a few things going for me. When I left, I threw what I could in the back seat of my truck, and I went into the living room and I said, you want me gone? I'm gone. I said, but I'm not going to be responsible for what you do on this farm. And then I drove away out of the driveway. And then I had our first session in court, where it's just the two lawyers and the judge. My lawyer looked back at me and then looked at the judge, so the judge knew I was in court. And at the end of the session, the judge looked directly at me and then at my lawyer and said, I highly recommend that your client get camera surveillance on the farm. My lawyer pulled me off to another room and he said, I've never had a judge say that. So, yeah, a lot of back and forth, and my credit card was used for purchasing all the farm chemicals and parts. And then all of a sudden, he's using it and he's buying all new locks on all the buildings and locking me out and wanting me to pay half the bill. And it was one game after another. And finally, he just started, they pulled his license due to his eyes. And he started stripping the house down, took out light fixtures, TV brackets. And after 6 weeks of letters going to his lawyer, my lawyer phoned up and said, pack your bags, you're moving to the farm. And he said, they're going to try and stop you. He said, but I got him. And I've been on the farm ever since.
Congratulations. I'm glad that before everything was destroyed, you got it back.
Yeah. And actually, he only did farm the 1 year. And then right before seeding the following year, he said that he was going to rent it out. And I didn't agree to it. And we had neighbors and they were on the land. And I kicked them off the land. And the lawyers got involved, and that is when my son and myself started farming the land.
Well, I got to tell you, you're one tough cookie, I got to say. Congratulations on who you are. And we've been talking with Caty Micky, and go get her book. Go to her website as well, which is cultivatingfreedom.ca, and it's finding her way from fear to freedom. And that is it's a great read, and I highly encourage it. And you have done so much to help make it work for you and your kids and your grandkids and all of that. Now, you mentioned something to me, and before we go, that I was really concerned about, and he was talking to the grandchildren in a certain way.
Yes.
About you, about that grandma. You're sure is a piece of work. She's something. Or was it worse?
Oh, much worse. I'm standing at the kitchen. Well, at that point, he was driving the semi with no license, and the doctor's telling me that I have to report it every time he is, because if he kills somebody, I'm responsible. So that added another layer on, and the RCMP came in the yard, went down to the bins, talked to him as he's loading the semi, and then they drove out of the yard. And I had my little 2-year-old granddaughter standing at the kitchen sink with me, and he walks in the house and she grabs my leg tight, and he bends down and he looks at her and he said, "Grandma's just a bee. Yes, yes, she's just a little bee." And he was talking like that to the grandkids quite a bit. Even my oldest daughter had called him out.
Well, I'm glad that your kids supported you and stuff. So that's really great. Do you think you're going to write another book, maybe a follow up to this one?
Well, actually, I'm part of a compilation book here. We're having a book launch, Calgary Casino, October 17th and 18th, and it's all about women's health and healing, and 21 authors in that book, and I'm part of that book. And then I have another interview, possibly for another book in the making. But I always wanted to write a funny book, a quirky book about all my grandkids and everything that they do.
I think that'd be wonderful. I think you should do it.
Yeah. I just want to say, in this Cultivating Freedom book, at the end, I have a bunch of cheat sheets. So if you're wondering if you're in a narcissistic relationship, there's red flags to watch for. How do you know when you're healing? What is your checklist that you got to think about if you're going to leave? How to hire a lawyer, how to hire a therapist, to get yourself set up properly before you make the move.
Oh, and I tell you, having a good lawyer and a good therapist are paramount to getting what you need to get done. Yes. And because it's never easy, but a good lawyer can make it a little bit easier for you.
Yes.
And congratulations on everything you're doing. Do the book about the grandkids and the funny one, and congratulations on the other book coming out in October. It's going to be great fun. And oh, by the way, when you go to the casino, Red 32.
Red 32. I'll think of you, Kevin. I'll think of you.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and the real quick, the funny story was Rochelle, who's not here. I told her she was going to go to a casino in Denver because she flew in from Salt Lake. And I said, remember, if you go to the casino, Red 32. Red 32. She goes to the roulette wheel. This is from those who know roulette. And she says, what number did he say? I'm pretty sure it's Red 34. And so she put $25 on Red 34, and guess what hit?
Red 32.
Exactly. And she lost $900. She was so sad. Or she didn't make $900 because she bet 25. And Caty, Micky has been our guest. And remember, everybody, Red 32. And Cultivating Freedom is the name of the book. And you've been a delight to have on the show. You'll have to come back, and we'll have to do more.
Oh, I've enjoyed it. I'm
so glad. And you have a great day. And let me know how the new book comes out. And because we also like to talk about women's health issues as well. and stuff. So we could talk about that too.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Caty. Again, Cultivating Freedom, and go to cultivatingfreedom.ca because she's in Canada, don't you know? And thank you so much for being here, my dear.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. Totally
I'm
enjoyed
glad.
it.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, stay away from narcissists. They're bad for business. They're bad for you. And so thank you, my dear. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.